It's a rough life. Living up to Lassie, it's a rough life. Trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack. Knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life. When fleas live on your belly, it's a rough life. When people call you smelly, I'm developing a complex. I might need a shrink. They blame me every time that something starts to stink. It's a rough life. Begging for a cookie is a rough life. Never getting nookie. They chase me from the kitchen when I start to beg. They think that I'm perverted when I hug their leg.
Give 'em the old razzle-dazzle, razzle-dazzle-um. Give 'em an act with lots of flash in it, and the reaction will be passionate. Give 'em the old hocus-pocus, bead and feather-um. How can they see with sequins in their eyes? What if your hinges all are rusting? What if, in fact, you're just disgusting? Razzle-dazzle-um, razzle-dazzle-um, razzle-dazzle-um.
Hi, welcome to the show. My name is Jesse Goldberg, and my guest today is David Kennard, an actor around town. You've been in a whole bunch of things around town. I mean, you're one of the local actors, right?
Yes, that's true. I am.
Have you been acting all your life?
I have. I started off on WSIX Romper Room preschooler. I've been doing it ever since, on and off.
Really?
Yeah, I've been. I was featured in Roots the Gift that was filmed here. It was one of the first films I made as an extra.
Roots the Gift?
Yes.
Is that different than the regular Roots?
Well, it's the Christmas version of Roots.
Oh.
Yeah. My first film job, I worked as an extra in Raging Bull for 2 months in L.A., by the way.
What did you do?
I was in all the boxing scenes, in the crowd scenes, you know, where...
Can you see you? You actually see you?
Oh, well, don't blink, but no.
I mean, do you look the same? I went to Raging Bull was 30 years ago.
Well, yeah, I look a little different, just a little bit.
Right. So
Yeah.
tell me, how do you, where are you from? You're from Nashville, right?
I'm a native Nashvilleian.
And you have lived at different places, right?
Right, I lived in Massachusetts. I used to spend summers on Cape Cod, and I went to University of Cincinnati, and I lived in Los Angeles and San Francisco.
You ever take acting lessons, or you just do it yourself?
I studied with Gary Austin, who founded the Groundlings.
Right.
Here in Nashville, and Molly Benson from Los Angeles, too.
Well, I've seen you in 2 plays, and you don't even know me, right? This is the first time you met me, right?
That's
but
true.
I've seen you in 2 plays. I saw you in One Kiss Cafe as the mean publisher, and I saw you in that other play, and I can't remember the name.
That was called So She Lived, that was written by the composer of the music for The Color Purple, Meet Joe Black, and Lethal Weapon, and he wrote his first play, and I played him. It was really a challenging role. Really,
yeah, you played a composer or something?
Right, a composer whose mother was dying.
Right. So how did you get into this? Are you always into musical comedy, or is it a passion of yours, or what?
Yeah, I love music. I love musical theater, but...
or do you like just regular acting better?
I like regular acting, too. Whatever. I'll do it, anything, sure.
So some of these things, you have a lot of credits here. I mean, you said you're in Raging Bull and the Green Mile. What did you do in the Green Mile?
Oh, the Green Mile. I was a trustee prisoner, but don't blink on that. When I was a trustee, there were just a couple of trustees that wore big hats and carried rifles.
Did you get to meet, who was in that movie? Tom Hanks? Was he in that movie?
No, I didn't.
How about the guy with who the flies came out of his mouth?
Saw him, but never actually.
Never met him? No. I was an extra once on a movie, and I sat around all day, and that was it.
Right, it's a lot of sitting.
Right,
sure.
right. You got a lot of stuff here. You've been, all this stuff you've been around. A lot of TV stuff. I
did 23 episodes of a TV show that was shot in this studio called Stubby's Place.
Right. I remember that show.
So that was sketch comedy.
Did you play Saddam Hussein or something?
I did. Yes, I did play Saddam.
So when
Yeah,
so your career in Stubby's Place was over when they got and killed Saddam Hussein, right?
That's true. It kind of killed it.
Yeah, that was
did
it.
Kill it. Yes.
Like Vaughn Meter with.
Oh, sure, for Kennedy. Right. I remember
right.
Vaughn Meter. Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That really killed it off when you got. That
Right.
definitely did.
And in theater, tell me about the One Kiss Cafe that you were in.
Oh, that was great.
And you were the mean publisher.
I was Midas Bradford.
Is that still going on, by the way?
Well, it was done by the same director that directed and wrote Always Patsy Cline, but this was at the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Great theater.
Thanks. Well, it's still a work in progress. It may be done again. Who knows? It's being chopped around a bit.
Right. So how did you feel being the mean publisher?
I loved it.
Do
Like,
you write songs at all?
I've written some parodies. I've been a song plugger in Nashville too for a successful writer, which is really a crazy business. Okay, Carol, here's what I want you to do. Drop the signing bonus all the way down to $100. Give an extra point on the back end. The way our contracts read, you'll never see it anyway. It will simply vanish into the black hole of legal jargon. Look, you should be paying me to be a staff writer here at the Song Syndicate. Fair? Don't talk to me about fair. It isn't fair that people listen to country music in the first place, and I'm forced to deal with these rubes every day. Some of them still smell like farm. Don't they have running water in Bucksnort, Ohio, or Flushing, Tennessee, or wherever they grow turnips? No. Money doesn't buy happiness, it buys you the things that make you happy. Yeah, maybe I do need to see a psychiatrist, but he'll want to get paid in money. Money is sexy. Money is beautiful. If I could marry money, I most certainly would. Call me when he signs. Money, I wanna be your lover. Honey, girl, you're looking fine. Money, I wanna be your lover. I'm gonna hold you, squeeze you, touch you, feel you, know how much I really need you. Yeah. Oh, hi. Let me guess, he signed on the spot, right? Ha, cha-ching. I knew he would. I may have been born Carl Bradford, but they don't call me Midas for nothing. I am the music publisher with the golden touch. Hey, remind me to put a little something extra in your paycheck next week. See what I tell you? Tell me I didn't just buy a little happiness for my favorite assistant. No problem. I gotta go now. Yeah, I'm outside the One Kiss Cafe. I gotta go in there and find my next bumpkin savant. Ciao. Honey, I wanna be your lover. Honey, girl, you're looking fine. Money, I wanna be your lover.
So what do you like to do the best? I mean, what's your favorite thing to do? Just do a good role?
A good role would be great.
I mean, drama, comedy, what?
I'd like to be on a sitcom, to be honest, that goes into syndication. I love sitcom. That's sort of what I would love to
And your
do.
favorite show is, all time?
My favorite show on television?
All time.
Of all time.
Give me doesn't have to be a favorite. Give me one you like.
Will and Grace.
I've seen every episode of Will and Grace.
Me too. Gosh, that's tough.
I didn't like the way it ended.
I don't remember how it ended.
It ended like they get old and they meet each other.
Oh,
again.
yeah.
I didn't like the way it ended. What about Seinfeld? You a Seinfeld fan?
I love Seinfeld. I used to know Ian Abercrombie in L.A. who plays Elaine's boss.
Oh, really?
So he was.
What's his name again?
He's that
Peterman?
British guy. I don't know what his name is on the show.
Oh, you're talking about the boss. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we used to
English
work
guy.
together in a restaurant in West Hollywood.
Really?
That was a long time ago. Yeah. Oh boy.
So did you know any other big stars? Or did you meet them?
Well, I waited on a lot of stars in L.A., like all the Rolling Stones together, and Minnie Riperton with Maya Rudolph is Minnie Riperton's daughter. So I used to know her when she was a little girl, Maya Rudolph, and Carly Simon and James Taylor were my favorites.
What's she like in person?
Beautiful and tall, beautiful, very nice.
I just read her book. And she didn't
really?
write it, somebody else wrote it about her.
Is it published by Simon & Schuster?
You know, and the thing about that is that they sold that company.
They did? I didn't know that.
I mean, Carly Simon's father was the one who was Simon & Schuster.
I didn't know that.
But they sold it before. And let me show something here. If you can, Bird, you can get this. What is this right here?
This is a poster.
David Kennard Film Festival.
This was an idea that Jazz Dorsey, my dramaturg, came up with. He called
A dramaturg. What's a dramaturg?
A dramaturg is a person that puts plays together.
Jazz is all over the place.
Jazz, well, that's what he does. He puts shows together. This was what's covered in Variety magazine. This project, Variety magazine, was covered, called the first annual ever, possibly never to be repeated, David Kennard Film Festival, which was clips from independent films and the TV show Stubby's Place mostly. It was clips from those, and it went over really good. It even made Fox Searchlight too, and went all the way to Singapore. Picked it up, a wire service in Singapore.
So let me tell you, are you in any plays right now?
Well, I'm in a play that's a recurring sort of play called Stage Fright, which is based on Edgar Allan Poe poetry, but I play Vincent Price on that.
Oh, well, you'd be a good Vincent Price.
Oh, 'tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years.
I can see that, Vincent Price.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun. So we're working on that all the time. We've done it at the Scarlett Bennett Center, and we've done it at the Williamson County Library. So it's sort of a work in progress. So we may do it again.
Well, it's good having you here.
Thank you, Jesse.
And,
it's good to be here.
And we'll be back.
Okay.
Hi, welcome back. My name is Jesse Goldberg, and my guest now is Hunter Moore.
Hey, Jesse.
And Hunter, you just, you must have wrote, how long, you've been, let's see, the name of the play is
Conversations.
Conversations, and I just started reading on it on Monday, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Now, you've been working on this a long time, I would imagine.
Yeah, I had the idea for it in 2008, so about 6 years ago.
2008?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's inspired by an album that I made as a singer-songwriter in 2001. And I made an album of 10 songs then. And in 2008, I had this idea of creating a theatrical story around it so the characters could sing all the songs on that album. And then I created some more music to go with it to make what you saw Monday night.
So music started first.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had some dialogue, and then added more music.
At first, I thought the whole thing was going to be sung. My idea was to have
Like an operetta type thing?
everything sung, and what I ran into, the feedback that I got from some people I trusted was there needed to be more story, and the easiest way to do that would be to add dialogue. I'd never written dialogue before, and so...
Easier than you thought, isn't it?
Yeah, you just do what people
say,
People
right.
say, yeah.
Right.
I was really surprised.
It was a good story with the tornado and everything.
Well, I thought it would be familiar to people, that severe weather and hearing those NOAA weather
I have
radio
one of those
alerts.
radio things.
Yeah.
And I had that same guy that you had on, the radio guy, whatever it is.
Yeah, whoever does that.
Right, right. I wonder who does that. I wonder if it's a real person.
Yeah, it sounds like a computer.
Right. So tell me about yourself. Where you from?
I'm originally from southeast Missouri, just about 180 miles northwest of here on the other side of the Mississippi River.
Missouri. How come you say Missouri?
My mom told me when I was little that only people from out of state said Missouri, which isn't true, but I believed her.
So it's Missouri.
I always say Missouri, yeah.
Like I said, Louisiana, same thing.
Kind of like that, yeah.
So how long have you been writing songs? How did you start out like that?
Well, I started out doing music, playing in bands in high school, and then I came down here to go to Vanderbilt for college, and me and a friend of mine who was also at Vanderbilt, he's from my hometown, we started performing together while we were college students on campus and around town, and I began writing songs, and we played 2 or 3 of them then, and that was the beginning of my songwriting. And then after Vanderbilt, I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston for a year, stayed up there playing clubs and stuff, and moved back here around.
What instrument do you play?
Guitar and piano.
So what did you take at Berklee?
I was a piano major, but I was in a professional degree program. I'd already been to 4 years of college, but I'd always wanted to go to music school, so it was a 2-year program. I lasted for a year.
What did you graduate in Vanderbilt with?
I was a history major at Vanderbilt, which I
Oh,
still
really?
really enjoy history a lot, yeah.
Real, so what's your area of history that you like?
I loved American history and history of the South, but really just, it depended on the professor. If it was a really good professor, that's what I really liked. I found the professors really made a big difference in how much I liked whatever the subject matter was.
So you said you're from Missouri, right?
Yeah.
So what side were you on in the Civil War, the Yankees or the Americans?
Yankees are the Americans. The Southerners were the true Americans. No, I'm just kidding. It was a contested area. It was a border state. Even Missouri was a slave state, but it's considered a border state. So sometimes, depending on what month it was, the Confederates would be there or the Yankees would be there. Sometimes there was no law. It was a dangerous place to be for the first part of the war.
Wasn't there a Missouri Compromise or something?
That was earlier, and that
1820 or something?
that was part of all of that led up to the Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah, like Missouri was a free state and another state came in as a slave state.
Missouri was
like
slave. Kansas was free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it was crazy, crazy times.
Slavery is really stupid.
Yeah.
I don't know how that ever happened.
I know. It seems like a really awful solution to not having enough labor. Let's just enslave some people and force them to work.
How could you own somebody? It's really dumb.
It's a foreign concept, but it goes back thousands of years, obviously.
It's still going on.
Yeah, and still there
other
actually
countries.
I read there are more slaves today than there have ever been in the world. It's hard to believe.
I am constantly being let down by human nature.
You can't count on
Constantly.
it for sure.
So tell me about your songwriting career. You had some cuts, right?
Yeah, I did. I came back to town in 1980. I was encouraged to come and through a meeting I had with another former Vanderbilt student, grad, named Kent Robbins, a very successful songwriter here in town. And we had a family connection there, and he liked what I was doing, encouraged me to move here. And I began writing with him, some other songwriters, and got signed to a staff writing position where I had a little office and I would come in and a desk and I would write 9 to 5 every day. I had a briefcase and a little
Wow,
lunchbox.
it made you feel important, huh?
It was almost like a real job, you know. But I was able to write with some fantastic writers, young and old. Some of the guys that were in the Hall of Fame now were very helpful with their time and kind of teaching me the ropes.
Where was your writing deal at?
It was initially at Welcome Music, working with Bob McDill at Welcome Music. But there were some fantastic writers along with Bob in and out every day. And I was fortunate enough to have recordings by Don Williams and Kathy Mattea, Ricky Skaggs, Alabama, some different people.
Any singles?
Nothing really huge. I had a Don Williams single and a single by Kathy. It was actually made into her first video, which was exciting.
What was it called?
You Got a Soft Place to Fall. And it wasn't one of her most successful records. It was off her first album, but I was thrilled. And the video was really good.
What happened to her? She was doing so good. What happened?
Well,
Kind of faded.
yeah, she's doing more folk now, I think. What I see, she's still active. She's still out there working, playing dates and stuff.
She did one of my favorite songs I've ever heard in Nashville. 2 of them. I think Where Have You Been?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And can't remember what the other one was.
She had really good, I was really fortunate because Don Williams, this was true for Don too, were really known for picking good songs. And so it was a real honor to
I think
be.
her husband wrote that song.
Yeah, he wrote it with Don Henry, I
Right.
think. Yeah.
Right. There was another one too that I can't remember the name of it. It was really good though.
She had a number of really good records. Great
Yeah.
voice.
Kind of like an Anne Murray-ish type.
But I did that for every day for about 10 years, and then began releasing my own CDs and traveling as a singer-songwriter on the coffee house folk circuit in the U.S. and Europe for a lot of the 90s.
Playing piano or guitar?
And mainly guitar because it was easier to carry. I could just put it on my back,
Are
acoustic
you
guitar.
equally adept as guitar as piano?
You know, it's funny. I know more technically on the piano than I do guitar. But guitar, and maybe because I know less about it, I'm able to do something a little bit more distinctive on guitar than I am on piano. It's almost like I know I have too many choices on piano.
Right. So let's back to Conversations.
Yeah.
So how did it came about? Because you did an album in the early
It was
2000s,
2001. I put that album
and
out.
then you put it together. So how's the process going? How long did it take you to write that book? 'Cause I write this kind of stuff too. So
Yeah, it took me. I had this all in my computer. I didn't really look. The first reading that we had was just a straight reading in my living room in February of 2011. So it took about 3 years before I was ready to show it to anybody. But I was.
how did it feel this reading that just came off? Because they kind of did more than read it; they acted it.
It was
you know?
exciting to see that much acting because that was more acting than the other readings. And I kind of got a glimpse of what it might be in a full production. It made me really excited to see.
No, I would have liked it better, but there was a guy with a big head right in my way. I had to keep going like this.
Oh, you got a sore neck.
It was at the Black Box Theater in
Centennial.
Park.
Yeah, I just found out about that, and they've been doing this reading series once a month of having readings. Some are more staged than others, and they're free, and it's a really great thing.
I did one there a couple of years ago.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jazz Dorsey's running it.
Yeah,
And Carolyn
German,
Right.
oversees that for Metro.
Right.
Yeah.
So what did it feel like after you got it done?
Well, is it ever done? I mean, that's one thing I'm learning with theater. It's never really done, but.
I know I'm on my 23rd draft. Right now. So what? I noticed there was a guitar player there,
Yes.
and he had a computer,
Uh-huh.
and some were tracks,
Right.
and some he was playing to. What was the deal with that?
Well, the deal with that was there's some of those songs and some of those intros to songs that don't have a set rhythm, so you couldn't really create a track that the singers could follow. So my idea was to have Jacob there, Jacob Lewis, and Robert Kiefer did the narration. It was
Right.
wonderful. But Jacob would follow the singers. So for those parts, I'd tell the singers, just take off. Jacob will follow you. So gave them some flexibility. They could slow down,
Oh, I
speed
see
up,
what you mean.
pause. But in a full production, you would have a live band, and they would do all that.
So what? Who were those actors you had? You had two people, and there was a guy and a girl.
Yeah, Rebecca Durham was the female lead, and Jake Abel was the male lead.
Now, how did you get these people? You audition them, or did you just know them?
They were, I have friends, and so I would ask them, friends who were in theater here, and at the last reading, I had some suggestions, and Rebecca was one of those suggestions, and she was tied up, and so Brooke Bryant played the female lead the last time I did this. And Jake, I had seen, he's a Vanderbilt Divinity student, and he had been in a Vanderbilt production of The Cradle Will Rock last fall, and I was really impressed with his performance in that, and I looked him up.
Oh, okay. So, were you happy with what happened?
Yeah, I really was. You know,
Let me tell you, the music that you have is not very easy to follow.
it's very hard, and it's
It doesn't seem like it's very easy to sing either.
the idea was for it to not sound hard, but it is hard.
Right,
and
because
rhythmically.
a lot of the stuff is, I don't know,
They're odd measures.
Yeah.
And it's very syncopated. And part of that was a lot of older blues and country music has odd measures. And conversation itself, this whole idea of conversation is based on Robert Frost's poetry in his book North of Boston. Everyday speech is not that regular. It doesn't have a verse and a chorus. And so to try to imitate speech patterns and to make it irregular but still work musically was what I was doing.
How did you teach these people that irregularity? How did you teach that?
Well, they had a disc with all the music on there since Christmas, and then I also have lead sheets for all of the music written out if they read, but they can't just depend on the reading because you really have to memorize it basically.
Right. Did you write the lead sheet yourself?
No, I don't have the Finale software, so I had somebody else do. I wrote it out longhand, and then I had somebody else put it in the machine. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of music.
Yeah.
And a lot of similar type music, but the melodies were all over the place. So I'm going like, how do these people learn all this stuff?
It's I tell them from the beginning, it's going to be really hard, and I try to get them to learn something and do it with me maybe a month out just to make sure they understand how hard it's going to be. You know.
So what's your next step going to be with this thing?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know enough about the development process to know exactly what the next step is. My goal is to make it more available. That's really bottom line. How can I make this available to more people? What's the best way to do that? And there were a couple of people there Monday night.
Living up to Lassie, it's a rough life. Trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack. Knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back.
How does this work? You know, what are your thoughts? If you were here where I am now with this, what would be your next step? So that's basically what I want to do.
Have you ever written another one?
Well, now I'm thinking, hey, you know, I need to write another one now, right? I've spent the last 6 years bringing this one to this point, and I've learned so much in the process. I'm ready to go ahead and take what I've learned and apply it.
I have a very similar story to you. I mean, I wrote one. It took me forever. Me and my partner, we wrote it, and we kept doing it over and over again. All of a sudden, I started writing another one yesterday, and I got like 10 pages out.
Yeah.
I said, wow. This is liberating to be able to write about something else.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But you'd also accumulated some skills in that process then that made it easier for you to take that idea and go somewhere with it, I'm imagining.
I think in conversational as trying to capture something real.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, like conversation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to do.
So you want to tell a little bit about the story before we have to get out of here?
Sure. I just tried to keep it really simple. Yeah, 2 characters, a husband and a wife, Richard and Beth Clay. They're around 40. They have a couple of kids.
But it takes place in the 90s.
It takes place in the early 1990s in a small town in West Tennessee, fictional town I call Claysville.
Why does it take place in the 90s? Why can't it just be? 'Cause it didn't seem like the 90s was necessary.
It's what I related to, because I was about that age at that time. So I wanted to, that's where I decided to put it. And plus they didn't have cell phones. That was another important piece of that.
Okay.
Computers were still pretty primitive.
Right, okay.
So they're depending on the telephone.
The towers could be out.
Yeah. So this whole thing happens in one evening. They've got some marital issues. They've been dancing around, and there's a night of severe weather, which forces them in the process to deal with their issues.
Right.
Basically.
I don't want to say what happens, right?
Yeah, no.
No.
But there's an emergency that happens in the midst of all that brings a lot of this stuff to a head.
Right. And they do kind of resolve their issues.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they do.
Right. Anyway, we're just about out of time.
Okay, well, thanks, Jesse. I really enjoyed this.
If you get a chance, and if Conversations by Hunter Moore ever comes your way, take a look at it.
Hope so. Thanks a lot.
My name's Jesse Goldberg, and we'll see you next week for another edition of the show.
Living up to Lassie, it's a rough life. Trying to be so classy when I'm going through the garbage for a midday snack. Knowing I'm in trouble when the folks get back. It's a rough life. When fleas live on your belly, it's a rough life. When people call you smelly, I'm developing a complex. I might need a shrink. They blame me every time that something starts to stink. It's a rough life. Begging for a cookie is a